So, question 3 requires you to focus on language and structure. And it asks you to analyze how the writer uses language and structure to interest and engage the reader. This question is always the same. There's no variation. Obviously, the texts differ each year, but that question is always the same. It's always a focus on language and structure and a broad focus on how the writer interests and engages the reader. As you can see there, this question is worth 15 marks. Now, for this question, this is obviously paper 2, which is going to focus on non-fiction texts. This question is the same in terms of skill as your language and structure question on paper 1, which is also question 3. However, the difference is like I said, it's worth 15 marks, so it's worth more marks. And also, because it's a non-fiction paper, you can also look at other language devices that are applicable to non-fiction texts that are not applicable to fiction texts. For example, anecdote, alliteration, fact, opinion, rhetorical questions, repetition, emotive language, exaggeration, statistics, and triples. These persuasive techniques apply to all the questions on this paper except for the small questions and also question 7a, because you're not required to look at techniques for that one. So persuasive techniques, the different acronyms that people use to remember them, you may recognize them from acronyms like A forest, A forester, DA forest. They're very useful for helping you remember them. So for this paper, nonfiction, remember the persuasive techniques. There's a crossover with fiction techniques like alliteration. However, things like anecdotes, facts, statistics, these will be uniquely used in nonfiction texts. So when you are reading your extract for this question, look out for those techniques, okay? So the approach to this question is read the question carefully and highlight keywords. Read the extract and highlight quotes that answer that question. Make sure the quotes have language and structure techniques. I would suggest you pick 6 to 8 quotations, 6 to 8 short quotations that you can use, and then complete thorough notes for 4 of those quotations. So those 4 quotations that you do thorough notes for will probably be your main quotations, and then you use your other quotations to support your main point. You want to write 3 to 4 paragraphs for this question, okay? So that's my suggested approach to that. So the mark scheme, if you want to get the most marks for this question, you're looking at level 5, which is where 13 to 15 marks can be attained. So when we are seeking to achieve the top marks for this question, you want to make sure that you're analyzing. You want to make sure that you're analyzing both language and structure. You are capped if you only focus on either just language or just structure. So you have to make sure that you're analyzing both. And then your references need to be discriminating and clarifying your points. That's why it's important that your quotes are precise and that you are using other quotes to support and clarify the point that you are making. Okay, so this is an example of a question 3 paragraph. I realized that I didn't actually show you the texts that this response is based on. Here it is on the screen. This is the first text, which question 3 is based on. Questions 4 to 7 will be based on a different text, which I'll show you later on. It reads, the obituary opens with a comparison to other familiar famous musicians of his time, mentioning the impressive names of B.B. King, Ike Turner, and Elvis Presley. This helps to establish his status for any readers unfamiliar with him and to confirm it to those who are. The association with high-status musicians engages the reader. By using repetition in the phrase same place and same time, It emphasizes his place among the greats, elevating the importance of his life, which invites the reader to take more interest as they continue to read. Furthermore, Russell uses a metaphor to highlight the versatility of Milton's legacy as he escaped the confines of blues to become a spokesman for the entire African American community. This highlights his cultural significance through his music. The verb escaped points to this being intentional, which draws attention to this as an example of Milton's success in shaping his own public identity. This may inspire the reader and make them curious to find out how he achieved this. So here you can see that I have looked at the writer's use of different techniques, okay? We've got repetition. We also have a mention of the use of verbs, okay? So these are techniques that you would be familiar with in a fiction text, for example. Talked about use of metaphor there. But I also mentioned the use of names, which is a use of facts, okay? Which again is a technique that is exclusively found in a non-fiction text, as this one is. I'm just looking at what else to highlight in this paragraph. Okay, the key words in the question are engages, interest and engages, okay? And we can see in the third paragraph, the association with high status musicians engages the reader. So make sure that you are using the keywords from the question in your response to make sure you are showing that focus on the question, okay? The fact that my first sentence is about how the obituary opens is a structure point. So I've looked at structure and language in this one paragraph, okay? So yes, this is an example of a top-level response to question 3 on paper 2. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend, and check out my other videos for the rest of paper 2 questions.